2 more people in, and then we're going to start. But I'm thrilled to be moderating this panel. I'll just quickly introduce myself and do some quick housekeeping. And then I'm going to interview my incredible panelists here who I'm just thrilled to be in a virtual room with you and hopefully one day a real room. But my name is Brooke Jaffe. I am your host today. We are going to be talking about how to build the character of you, which is a pretty meaty subject. I mean, I'm not sure you can find the answer to that question in 30 minutes, but we are going to try today. I am the head of communications for Penske Media Corporation, which is the parent company of Rolling Stone, The Hollywood Reporter, Billboard, Deadline, just to name a few. And thrilled to be here today. Just want to put a quick FYI that the chat box is there. We are taking questions for the last 10 minutes of this panel today. We really do want to hear from you. So be as specific as you like, please use it. Also be aware that anything you write in the chat box will be seen by everybody on this call. So make sure to keep it positive. Our panel is 30 minutes. We'll leave 10 minutes at the end. We might, talk for a little longer if it feels like we need to. And the session is recorded and will be available after the event. We definitely want to keep up the engagement, so please follow at Glamhive, an incredible female-founded company by my friend Stephanie Sprangers. You should check her out, follow her as well. Bringing all stylists from celebrity down to everyday stylists, helping people get dressed onto one platform. Incredible company. And we just want to quickly thank Mary Kay, the sponsor of today's event, perfect sponsor because it's a company that's really been empowering women since the beginning. So that's my housekeeping notes. And now I'm going to introduce my incredible, very patient stylists who are on this panel. So let's start with Sally Lindley. She is a US-based stylist. She travels the globe styling, doing all types of projects. Started her career on the editorial side, working with incredible magazines, producing fashion shows, and building some of the biggest campaigns you've ever seen for brands like Marc Jacobs and Sephora. So welcome, Sally. Thrilled to have you here. Kelsey, love seeing you. Fashion stylist, really expert, black belt in the red carpet, and works with costume designers here in Los Angeles, as well as a bevy of private clients. So Kelsey, wonderful to have you. Next, let's go to Nola Singer. Thrilled to have you here, an LA-based stylist. She's not too far from me right now. She divides her time between styling celebrities that you've definitely been marveling at from home, as well as creating a wine company that has the proceeds that go back to rescue dogs. It's called Rescue Rosé, so check that out. And last but certainly not least is Tiffany Gifford. Tiffany is in Nashville right now. She's a celebrity wardrobe stylist. We actually just realized she's styling Maddie and Tay, who are amazing country singers. That is just one of many of the incredible musicians and celebrities that Tiffany is styling. So again, I can't believe I get to moderate this panel. Thank you for spending time with me on Saturday. And let's just jump into this monster of a question here, which is how to create the character of you through clothing. And I'm just gonna, let's go to Sally first. Sorry, Sally, you're like your square is right in front of me.
No, it's good.
So let's just say we're all characters in the game of life here. What is that very first step in kind of deciding, like, how do we tackle the question of what we want to look like? Like, where does that start for you?
Well, for me, I always think of working with clients, whether I'm working with celebrities like Rihanna or Victoria Beckham or Drew Barrymore, who are all very different. I start to look at what are their creative tastes. Like, a lot of their personal style is based on the music they like to listen to, the movies and the film, the TV that they like to watch, all of these kind of aesthetic play moments in our life start to define who we are as a character. And that also can define your clothing. And I think it's a fun place to look at inspiration for your personal style. And like, you know, really separating personal style from runway trends, whereas runway trends are a kind of moment by moment thing, looking at, okay, when you're doing your personal style, you don't really want to look at the runway or even necessarily kind of traditional fashion editorial, because it's kind of so of the moment, looking kind of at the things that the people who are your heroes, whether it's your grandmother or your grandfather or your mom or your dad or your sister, as also styling inspiration. That's where I've always kind of played around with my clients when I'm working with a person, but even for a brand. When I'm working for a brand, we really look at who is the girl or the guy that we're creating imagery for or clothing for, and what are their interests? What are they doing in their day? What is their job? And all that starts to kind of play into who this character is. So usually that's kind of where I start with my clients and doing research is, okay, you love Bob Marley, or you love, you know, certain opera, and like looking at those things, or ballet, or you love hip hop dance, and looking at those things for inspiration for what your own personal wardrobe should look like.
Wow. So I'm hearing a lot. I'm hearing, because I think you said a couple of things. One about the runway not being necessarily the right inspiration for sort of your personal style. I'd love to unpack that. And if anybody wants to, and then I also, does that mean like you're creating mood boards for your clients based on these figures?
Yeah, I mean, like, I love to start with someone, whether it's a celebrity or just, you know, a real woman or man I'm working with in their life, to say, okay, well, who are these inspirations to you? Who are your style heroes? But then also, who are your music heroes? Who are your film heroes? And when you start to unpack all that, you see a theme come through, and you usually kind of start to see a couple of, like, for me, my thing is always powerful, fun, and sexy. Like whenever I am choosing anything in my life, it's usually, especially for my wardrobe, it's inside of those three things. You kind of start to see trends emerge when you're putting together these mood boards for people or for a brand.
Wow. Okay. That's, I have a project for myself this afternoon. I'm going to go, I'm like, I'm mind blown. Tiffany, does this resonate for you? And does creating a character, like how much time does this take, this process? And does a stylist, I mean, I'm assuming a stylist would help speed up this process. So like, how do you work with your clients in terms of this?
Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to just say, I love that, Sally. I love the idea of trying to think of some adjectives that describe you. And maybe every time you're going in your closet, does this make me feel strong, sexy, all the things that you really want to feel. I love that. That's a really, it's something that you can kind of take from, you know, the celebrity clients that you might be dealing with down to your everyday girl. I love that. So yeah, I work mostly with musicians, and I work in a way that I think is a little bit different from what I understand from other stylists, in that I hear their music first. So if I'm working with a client, if a client has a new album coming out, I will want to hear the music first, because to me, the music should tell me everything I know about what the visual should be. And I actually kind of think that that you can kind of play what Sally was just saying about kind of taking those adjectives, like what's the song that describes your style? And what does that look like? Like in terms of, you know, the musicians that I work with, I want, when somebody hears their music and sees their album cover or sees them out on tour, there's a synergy there. And, you know, it inspires them, but they also feel like it's authentic to what they're hearing. So I love turning somebody else's artistic medium into an image that people can see, and then there's some synergy there. And in terms of, I mean, I think, yeah, it does take time. I think it really depends. I mean, from where I come from with celebrity styling specifically, and musicians, I can always tell really quickly if the client knows who they are by hearing their music.
That's interesting.
And then meeting them And then, you know, I'm like, and it doesn't always come straight away. You know, clients that are younger, that haven't had a ton of life experience, that are still trying to figure stuff out. In a lot of areas, including creatively. You know, I think that sometimes I can hear what their personality is trying to tell me and incorporate it, and they're like, oh yeah, or that, you know, and it develops. I think a stylist can help speed that up. I know that was also a question that you had, for sure, because there's something about being a stylist, and I think we could all probably agree, we have this sense of innate intuitiveness about people. I think it's kind of a gift that you kind of have to do what we do in our world. So
I'm just, and I was gonna go, I'm gonna ask Nola this question too, but just this, you touched on the idea of age. I mean, when I was a lot younger, I was more of a chameleon because I didn't know myself. So, and I just wanted to try every trend. And now all I want is just that thing that fits, and I can put it on every other day. Nola, anything about sort of like the process of just being young and sort of, is that a rite of passage and like finding your character or yourself?
Well, I think when you're young, it's important to like experiment and have fun with fashion. And I think you can also like take more risks maybe. As you get older, you get more sophisticated, and I feel like you learn what works on you. I mean, I feel like also when you're younger, you might be more into trends. And then as you're older, you're like, no, that may be trendy. That's not flattering on me. Or, you know, you just start to learn what works best for your shape, for your personality, for your job. But I think it's important to have fun and still keep that youthful, you know, playfulness in fashion. Just because you get older doesn't mean you have to lose that, you know?
Absolutely. Okay, Kelsey, let's go to you. And so, you know, this was written in the questions about adjectives, and Sally brought this up of like having these words. I mean, does that resonate for you, having adjectives that are this character? And if so, like, how are you leveraging that when you're styling yourself or others?
So I think the adjective part is so great to have, because personal style, all it really is just saying, you know, your personal identity. Last year, I had the pleasure of attending the Costume Guild Awards, and Charlize Theron said, which is now my favorite quote ever, she said, "I love with what you wear says more in a moment than words could ever say." So when you're creating your wardrobe, you need to think, what do you want people to know about you at first glance? You know, if you're a businesswoman, you might have suits in your wardrobe. If you're athletic, you might have more sweatshirts. So really figuring out how you would describe yourself is going to build the best wardrobe for you. Now, that doesn't mean you only can have those things in your closet. I'm a firm believer in trying multiple looks, and also dressing up for how you feel that day. So if you're feeling dark, you might wear black one day when usually you're a colorful, bubbly person.
Yeah, I'm now feeling very sad about what I've been wearing to walk my dog in the quarantine. I don't know what I've told the world about myself. It's not good. Okay, moving on. So we've talked a little bit about how to build a wardrobe that reflects your personality. We have these words. We have muses of sorts. We have mood boards, or Tiffany's listening to music. Any other things, like for people listening to this who are not celebrities? They're just normal people who we just really want to look good, whether it's for work or in front of a Zoom call. Like, what should we, like, how, yeah, like, I want to know personally, like, what should is it beyond those words and mood boards? Let's say I don't have time to make a mood board. Like, what should we be trying to do? And is it about editing? Is it about removing things from your closet so you don't make bad choices? Is that?
Well, I mean, like for me, I always look at style, and you know, as she just said, it's always an evolution. Like, you know, how you feel at 20 is going to be different at 30, at 40, and 50. And also your taste is going to change. You're not going to be listening to the same music. You're not going to be watching the same films. So looking at that evolution, and then kind of coming back to the runway piece, because I work so much in editorial, where usually the clothes that I'm working with are from the runways, that I look at, okay, if I'm working with a potential, a person, even if I'm working with a person, we're just working with fashion clothing from Bergdorf Goodman or Dover Street Market, or even Amazon and Zara, we're looking at, okay, which trends from the runway do work inside the personal style that I have and love, and which silhouettes from the runway or from the fashion magazines are the silhouettes that I love and feel good in my body and feel powerful or sexy or whatever my thing is. But I also agree with what she just said too, that I have different wardrobes for different parts of my life. Like my work life, I have a very fun, aggressive, powerful, fashion driven clothing that I wear. But then date night is what I call the thirst trap. And date night is very sexy, and it's Alaya and all these brands that, I know it's like, I'm going to walk into the restaurant, my husband, I know my husband's going to feel good with me on his arm. That's fun for me, is creating these looks for these different situations. And I feel like that's the kind of the next step after you figure out these mood boards and you really have a flow of what your character is. Then you start to look at, you go into your closet and you edit. What needs to go to the Goodwill? What needs to be recycled? What can I sell on Poshmark? What can I sell to the Real? And then what new pieces do I need? That's when you can make your shopping list and say, what's missing from my wardrobe that I really love from the runways, or I really love from these films or these fashion heroes that I have.
It's amazing. I want to hear from Nola, Tiffany, or Kelsey. And I sort of mentioned this before we got on the call. What's your signature piece that kind of makes you feel like yourself? I think, because I have to say, I've always been surprised when I meet professional stylists, because I always think they're going to be in an outfit and they're usually in more of a uniform. Mm-hmm. They're not in a crazy runway. I mean, sometimes they are, but if you see them really working, in my experience, it's been a perfectly tailored blazer and a jean that's so I want to know what your signature is.
Well, to your point to that, when you are styling, you don't want to be the center of attention. So me personally, and I feel like a lot of stylists, we do dress down so our clients, are the star of the show. So that's why for me, I'm usually in a t-shirt or jeans, but I would say my signature piece are tall heels. I'm already 5'10". I don't need to wear heels, but it just makes me feel confident and powerful. And I love accessorizing. You can change any look to be elevated with a pair of heels.
Awesome. And Tiffany, I wanted to, Tiffany's I don't know.
No. I mean, I it's hard to choose because I feel like it changes. But I would say what's most consistent for me is a really great bag. Just playing off what Kelsey said, and it's something that I have told people forever, is great accessories. That is where you invest, in my opinion, because it elevates a look immediately. So I will wear a bag for years. I'm not the kind of person that gets a new bag every season or anything like that, but I will invest in a really great statement bag. And I love it. I mean, I think it elevates my ASOS and my Zara really, really well. My Target, immediately makes it look more polished. And I also agree with what Kelsey was saying, from a styling perspective, it's not about me. You're there for the client. And for me working, I mean, I think I look at sometimes when I go to award shows and backstage, and usually it's not stylists, usually it's more hair and makeup people will be wearing super high heels, and I just cannot work in that way. So I have to figure out, how do I still look like I do what I do, but still be, comfortable and, be able to be mobile, because I'm, schlepping, 4 duffels of clothes and, all that stuff. So I still need to look. So, maybe I get a Sakai sneaker and, a great fitting pair of jeans with a t-shirt and my, my statement bag, and I'm ready to go.
I love it. Nola, do you have a signature piece? Or?
I think when I'm working, I agree with Tiffany and Kelsey. You want to be comfortable, and I learned the hard way. I once wore high heels and almost threw up my back the next day because you're just a professional schlepper. But for me, in regular life, I love long, flowy dresses. I'm very feminine. So I feel like for me, just it's, finding when I wear something that's like feminine and fit well and it's like a long dress, I feel like it's just me. And then I guess like for work, bell bottom, I like flare bell bottom jeans and like a t-shirt where it's just comfortable. I can still have some style, but you want to just feel like yourself, but you can still work a lot and not take away from your client.
So I'm going off script again because I have a question. Do you think that when people kind of do a different look every day, and it's like every day on Instagram is a different outfit, everything is just reinvent, new purchase, and then you've kind of got on the other side of the coin, the girl that's like always got that perfect t-shirt and her blazer, and it's like the hair, and is it like, are you sending a message to the world that you have no idea what your style is when you're just in chameleon mode? Is that, I mean, as a professional group of stylists, or are you just saying, I mean, I guess there's no solid answer, but I just like to throw that out. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a lot of the girls who are changing clothes every day and changing looks every day, they're influencers. So, they're getting a lot of those girls are getting clothes for free. They're getting them for incentive, or they're being paid to wear those clothes and style those clothes on their Instagram. So
Yeah.
I think that we're all in a sustainability conversation now. And inside of sustainability and wanting to buy like investment pieces, whereas like Tiffany was saying, like, I like Chanel bags, I like Chanel shoes. I'm not changing those every season. There are things that I've had for 20 years that I still love and I still wear. And same with shoes, you just take care of your stuff. So I think from a sustainability, like this fashion hall mentality and the influencer mentality, it's a business of people who are trying to sell you stuff through social media. It's not real, And as a stylist, I know it's like working with my clients, whether celebrity or not, they're like not changing their entire wardrobe every season at all. So
I think it's important to say that out loud for people listening too, because I think that is something that's really hard in our society, is like you see people with new clothes every day on social media. And so I think it's hard to figure out how to look fresh sometimes when you either maybe don't have the budget to constantly replenish, or you're just trying to keep up, because it's like sometimes feels like you can't post a picture in the same outfit.
Well, and that's why on my Instagram, I started doing videos 5 years ago, 6 years ago for YouTube, where I would take one piece in my closet, a classic blazer, and style it 5 ways. And that's the way I can take one thing, and I started doing it with everything: the boyfriend jean, the skinny jean, the motorcycle jacket. Like, that's really important, is like the diversity in your major investment pieces. That's what I think most men and women are looking for, versus, and then having these smaller, trendier pieces that come in and out of your closet every season. But that's like 4 or 5 pieces, maybe 2 or 3. It doesn't need to be a complete refresh every time.
Totally.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question that is on the sheet. It was actually directed for Kelsey. Is personal history, how much of that should be part of this? I mean, it feels like a pretty specific question, but like vintage pieces from your family, like, your mother, your grandmother, like, is that a good place in terms of informing this character of you? If, for example, you have stylish people in your family and you kind of don't know where to, another approach of sort of getting in tune with yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I think incorporating personal history is essential in developing your character. When I help my costume designers and they're trying to portray a character just through their wardrobe, we use pieces like this to really identify the character's past prior to the movie or prior to the show starting. You can convey this and show, how it shaped them emotionally or impacted their decisions. So when you're doing this with your personal wardrobe, if you have a sacred piece from your grandmother or, something that's passed down, it really, represents who you are and where you've come from. So I think including that is very important to your self-identity.
I love that. And I want to ask Nola questions to hear more from her. And like, are there just times in your life when maybe it's time to take the character out and just get a new character? I mean, like, sometimes we are always evolving as human beings. Whether it's a breakup that precipitates it, or just like you just feel bored.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of friends and people, they've had something traumatic happen to them, and it's like they want to cut their hair off or like go blonde, change their, whole look. And I think it's important for your wardrobe to reflect that change. And I think it could be really empowering. Or if, someone gets really fit and in shape, all of a sudden you want to show off your, your new toned physique, and or if you get a new job, and I feel like dressing that part will help you play that role. And I think it's important as you evolve or make changes for your wardrobe to reflect that. And yeah, I think it's important.
You just hit on something, because the another thing about stylists, they always have the best haircut and the best skincare going on. So how big is beauty as far as like shaping this total part of the character? Because I know this is a styling panel, but I feel like that's a very critical part of the equation. And is that something all of you get involved in as far as the image consulting?
Yeah. I mean, I know when we have a look, if I do the fitting before we do like a promo tour for a movie, I'll send the looks ahead of time to hair and makeup so they can do the hair and makeup to match the look. And if we're on a photo shoot, we'll talk, between us and the magazine or whatever and the client, what works with what. I think they do work together, because if the hair and makeup is beautiful and the clothes are bad, it has to, or if some things like high neck, you want the hair back, and you don't want too crazy makeup. They have to all complement the look to make it all work.
And for me in editorial, it's really a huge collaboration. Like it is a big conversation from the moment I do research. Those mood boards are going to my hair and makeup team. I choose my hair and makeup team for my photo shoots, usually for magazines, based on what look I'm going for, and the hair and makeup team that I know is going to be able to accomplish that look, or it's a part of their natural aesthetic. So it plays hand in hand. And of course, it's always a collaboration. But, for me, working kind of more from a magazine and editorial standpoint, I've been in the lucky position to work really closely with my magazine editor and be able to kind of dictate who that team is and say, okay, we're going for this specific hair and makeup style. This team is the one who can accomplish that. So it does really work. Like stylists, I know, whether it's on the red carpet or for celebrities or in magazines, like we're all working really closely to create an image.
Yeah.
I feel like I always say that the clothes are kind of the quarterback. They really need to be calling the play. And in an ideal, perfect, like glam team, synergistic magic, you would have that really close collaboration, but it really starts with the clothes, unless you're doing like a hair campaign or something like that, or the client wants a specific hairstyle. But generally speaking, 99.9% of the time, the clothes call the play, and the hair and makeup needs to kind of go with whatever the clothing. And I think that is so true for what our daily lives are like too, from the Joe Blow down the street is, really you should play off of your hair and makeup, whatever your look is.
I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a little bit more hands-on regarding the hair and makeup because I have a huge clientele book with my personal clients, private clients, and I first create the look. And then once the look is confirmed, then we talk about the hair from there. And they usually use me for guidance for that. And I love, the high neck with the hair back. I completely agree with Nola on that.
What happens if the client says, I don't want to be this character who wears a ponytail. I want to have red hair and I want to not have a middle part, which
that happens.
Anyone heard? Yeah.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Clients always are giving you pushback and like, okay, well, I know best, but you kind of just have to work with them because ultimately it's what they want. So you have to figure out another way to accommodate that look.
This is so interesting. So we have questions in the chat box, and I think we've got 10 minutes to get these. So I just want to, from Evelyn Kim, let me just read this. So what resources, this is a little bit of an aside, but very helpful, are there to help someone develop a fashion vocabulary? So I guess this is someone sort of newer to fashion who wants to be able to describe that she is eclectic and classic and modern, and she needs I don't know. She needs more resources. I mean, I would say reading all the fashion magazines is a great way to start, but I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Now I feel like it's blogs. I mean, but every
Yeah.
magazine has a blog. But finding the people who have, even if it's on Instagram or, but just reading Vogue. It's like, I hate to always go to Vogue, and I've worked with them for years, but Vogue is, whether it's Paris Vogue or an Italian Vogue or British Vogue or American Vogue or China Vogue, you need to really, if you love fashion and want to be in it and want to speak to it, you need to be in that vocabulary. I mean, that's the world I grew up in. But I think that you know, there's really fun stuff on YouTube where, like, because sometimes there's a new brand, I don't know how to pronounce it, and I'm going to be presenting it to a client. So it's like, I'm going and looking at how do I kind of, you know, make sure I'm present. There's just a lot of stuff out there on like between YouTube, but I always go to Vogue. Just, that's, to me, reading the world is very important. And that's how you start to build that vocabulary, is really, to me, like being with your favorite fashion magazines, and they all have online presence. But the Barnes and Noble magazine section, you'll get into it quick.
I'm going to make a shameless plug for Penske Media. We own, obviously, Women's Wear Daily, and I read it every single day. And if you want to know what's going on in fashion, whether it's from business perspective or new designers, that is a great way to learn quickly kind of what's going on in the industry. Shameless plug.
Business of Fashion is another good one too.
And Business of Fashion is also excellent.
Right. And fashion documentaries are great too. I mean, I love a good documentary moment, and there's so many really great ones out there.
That is honestly such great advice, Tiffany.
I think Evelyn has already done the hard part. She's defined who she is. So all she needs to do now is she can literally go on Instagram or Pinterest and search, you know, #modern. And then she can create her own mood board by those images. If she sees, you know, a woman wearing this style, is that me? Does that feel modern to me? She can then group these photos together, create her own mood board, and then she'll know exactly what to shop for her wardrobe.
That is I love the Pinterest idea. And actually, if we're all going to be making mood boards for ourselves, I think that's going to be a great resource. I feel like I have an afternoon activity. Let's see, we've got vintage and thrift shops. This is from Kitty Holloway. Is also a big part of it. She's just sort of commenting that's how she pulls her looks together. Is that a resource that you guys are leveraging a lot, kind of thrift shops and vintage?
Yes.
I do a lot of consignment. Like, I love consignment stores. Like in LA, it was always Wasteland. I would go and pull, whether, even if it was a Rihanna video, I would still be going there to see what cool archival stuff I can find. I grew up in a thrift store pretty much from a teenage. I didn't have any money, so like $10 at the thrift store go a long way. So it's a really fun place. I mean, that's where I think that looking at, once you kind of define your mood board, heading to the thrift store or a secondhand or a vintage with your mood boards in your mind or in your phone on your hand, you can start looking at what are those key pieces. Like, you can find great menswear shirts. Like if you're looking for great oversized menswear shirts, flannels, great denim, like great flowy 90s dresses, all that 90s stuff that's from my junior high and high school is all at the thrift store now. So it's really easy to build a great look and a great personal style wardrobe. And then when you start to do those investment pieces, that's when you start kind of just pulling little things here and there from the more, like, you know, sustainable brands, you know, made in USA, made in Europe, whatever. So, you know, start kind of peppering those into the vintage and the thrift.
Love that.
Love it. How often are you guys cleaning your closets out and getting rid of the old or the stuff that no longer serves you?
I do it twice a year.
Yeah.
Twice a year.
Yeah. I moved from New York. I was in New York for 8 years, and I thought when I moved to Nashville, I would finally have the closet space that I deserved, but I don't. So I still have to trade out my stuff each, like, you know, half a year, you know, cold winter stuff and then summer stuff. But I try to get rid of things each time.
I have a great question from Janet. She's asking how important for people kind of who are trying to be stylists and get to the level of this panel, how important is that Instagram account in sort of putting forward your image of yourself? Like, are you guys leveraging your Instagram that way?
I mean, I am, but I feel like Instagram is important once you get to the stylist level. My personal feelings about trying to navigate that journey to doing styling for a living is intern, 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 assist, assist, assist. It's, I mean, like, because I mean, it's great that you can show your capabilities and your creativity and your own personal style, and even, you know, shoots that you may do. That's wonderful. That's all well and good. And, you know, you may get clients from that, but you cannot, I cannot stress this enough. You have to have the background and experience that comes with the day-to-day stuff that we do. How do you, I mean, having a great Instagram account is not going to teach you how to drop a deal memo for a client. It's not going to teach you how to run a fitting. It's not going to teach you, you know, how to travel internationally with clothing. It's, you know, just all the things that I feel like probably everybody on this panel can attest to, that we learned that it's invaluable in order to get to a place where you can really do this and do it for a living.
I agree with Tiffany, but I will say that I have gotten many a job from people going to look at my Instagram, and it's not from looking at the work that I post there. It's from looking at the styling videos and the more personal stuff that I'm doing. And I don't even have, like, my followership's not that big, but because of the content I'm doing there and the kind of digital evolution that I'm working on inside of styling and working with people online and working with companies online, I've had Margella, Marnie, Marc Jacobs, Saks Fifth Avenue. Those people hired me because of what I'm doing with digital space and my social media. So even if your following is not big, being able to represent something interesting on social media is really important in our current atmosphere.
Totally.
Not going to teach you how to do the job.
Right.
Yes,
So
there's
you can get
nothing
hired, but if you can't do the job, then you're kind of
exactly.
So
There's nothing insta about becoming an actual working stylist for the long term.
right.
So I think the takeaway is, if you're, I mean, it sounds like Sally's content she's creating also requires a ton of work, which is really the name of the game with styling, is you got to want to work really hard. And even when you're a senior stylist, I've seen it myself, you're still packing samples and doing all the fun stuff, because working in fashion is hard.
Yep.
It is
hard.
Yeah.
Sorry,
true.
not to feel passionate about that, but I think we've got 2 minutes left. Any kind of last thoughts or things? I didn't totally stick to my script here, and you probably want to murder me, but any sort of last ideas here? I mean, I think this is, I feel like I have so many fun, tangible takeaways from this.
I wanted to say one thing.
Yeah, please.
I think tailoring is like a huge thing that I know I use it with all my clients, celebrity or just personal clients, and my own life. And I think it's a big trick to, you know, work with a tailor, get things made for you. And even if it's something, let's say you have in your wardrobe and you haven't worn it, maybe you bring it to a tailor and you make it a short dress and it's totally fresh and new. So I think tailoring is like a huge thing that people don't use. And that's something that, you know, I think we should emphasize.
I have one last question that just popped into my head. So much of figuring out what works on you, because that's just like the catch-all phrase, is about feedback from other people. And sort of like, who should you be asking for? Because obviously our boyfriends like us in slinky dress. Like, it's like, who are you asking? Are you asking your mom, your boyfriend? Is your best friend really going to tell you what you look good in? Maybe you need a new best friend. But do you know what I'm saying? It's just, how do you get feedback you can count on if you don't have the instincts to know what you look good in? Because some people just don't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that this is a great time to plug Glamhive, because we would be great people to hire to ask, you know, what looks good on you and what could you take away, what could you add, that kind of thing. But I think when it comes down to it, you know, people that you trust, people that you admire their personal style, that have a really distinct style. I mean, if they don't, then, you know, I don't know that I would trust, like, you know, your, you know, little brother to tell you what looks good and what doesn't look good. You know what I mean? That doesn't really necessarily have a style of his own. But But I think if anybody that you feel like you admire their style and you think they would be honest with you.
I have a couple of thoughts on this. So like, I'm always the person that's like, it is about how you feel. Like, I love Marie Kondo. I love that whole thing of like, when you pick up an item, whether it's a shoe, a bag, a jacket, you know if you love it or not. And that is about, that's how you build the confidence. When you put on something and you're like, I don't give a crap what anyone thinks about me wearing this, I freaking love it. Those are the people who have the most amazing personal style in the world. Rihanna is that. Victoria Beckham is that. Drew Barrymore is that. And I'm there for a helping sounding board for them, but they know what they like and they know what they don't like. And yeah, there's a peanut gallery and we're all there to say, but they're very clear. Like, it is not, it is, so it's in a very much, I think, an internal thing, but at the same time, to Tiffany's point, that, you don't cut your own hair. Most people don't cut their own hair. They go to a professional. So the thing about working with a professional stylist is we're not going to put our personal opinions on top of your style. We're going to help you find and create your style. And that's the importance in working with a stylist. Whether you have only a small budget, it doesn't matter. Like, a stylist can help you whether you're shopping at the thrift store or whether you're shopping at Bergdorf. And like, being in conversations with a professional is really important. If you don't have that confidence yet and you're not quite savvy, it is really important. And that's why, things like Glamhive are putting some of the best stylists out there. And, I'm making myself available through my website. It's really important. It should be the same as going to get your highlights done or going to get your nails done. Most people aren't doing that themselves at home. Hire a professional once or twice a year.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And that's why we're here today, to thank Stephanie Springers for coming up with this incredible platform that brings the best stylists, together from across the country. And now that we're in this virtual world, like, it's so second nature now to be able to do this. You can bring this into your closet and have like the best expertise helping you filter through and making those decisions. So on that note, I'm going to just say thank you. You guys were incredible. Loved being here and hearing this conversation. I'm going to go make a mood board now and find my adjectives. And we just look forward to seeing you again soon. And everybody stick around. Another session, I think, is resetting. So hopefully you'll stick around today. And guys, expect to hear from me through Instagram. I'm not disappearing. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.